Okay, YouTube land, it is what we call in this part of Ohio an Ohio gray day. It's overcast, it's cold, it's September 1st, and it's about 50 degrees outside. I'm actually wearing a uniform coat. Okay, so I was looking at this belt tensioner and trying to decide what come first, the chicken or the egg, because as you see that gap there, that shouldn't be out like that. Plastic is melted on this side and it's broken there, and I'm wondering if that coming out and put the bolt that's under there, if that put that in contact, because you can see where the pulley started eating in and where it started eating into the aluminum, and that was rotated over from where it should be. It was not in its position. Anyways, this has the Ford part number on it. A little bit hard to see there, but it's there. And it's got date casting marks on it. Let's see here. Where are we at? Okay. Right there, it's cast 95, and that looks like 1295. This piece here is cast 95, and it looks like, I think it was 1295 too. Which that fits with a 96 vehicle. I would pronounce this as the original part. Now the pulley, on the other hand, does not have any Ford markings on it, and Ford is notoriously good for stamping their stuff with Ford part numbers. And Ford part numbers are not like 4 or 5 digits. They're not even 8 digits. They're longer. You normally have it starts off with a 4-digit code, then a dash, then 3 to 8 digits, then a dash, and then some more. Okay, and that's normally like between 1 and 4 more. So Ford part number's normally pretty long, and on something like this, it'd be stamped in the metal. Even with some rust in there, you'd see it. You'd see where the divots were in the metal where something that had been stamped. I'm going to say the pulley's been replaced, because they sell the pulleys separately because the bearings go out in the pulleys. And the aluminum hub here piece, no, that's yeah, the aluminum hub piece I think fell out on me yesterday, because that's the bearing race, not the threaded hub piece. It actually fell out of there, and I don't know what I'd done with it. I might put it in my pants pocket or something, but it fell out yesterday. I was playing around with it while I was in the truck riding back from AutoZone to my truck. I'm going to try to see if I can take this out, and I believe it's the 6mm, which I got set up here on the ratchet. I'm going to put this in the vise, but I wanted to show you the date marks on there first, and the fact that the pulley has no Ford part numbers or anything. So let's see what we can do here. Okay, when doing something like this, I'm using the vise here. I loosened the bolt up so much, I took 2 pry bars. I'm taking the tension out of the spring. Slowly let the vise out some, and when it's not wanting to come out, then I use the pry bars just to separate it. I still have more to do on the bolt. I'm going slow and easy. Okay, this stupid thing cut off the video again. It's going to have to use the editing software to piece this together. I tension the vise against it, so there's a little bit of the bolt showing, so I don't have tension on the center bolt as I'm taking it out. Then I wind the vise out and a little bit, and then pry it, so there's tension on the vise, and wind it and pry it. Hold on. Okay, we're out. Once I got that bolt so far, there was just no tension left in there, and you can see that plastic's melted around that bolt. Pull it out of there. Yeah, that plastic is melted around that spring. That's kind of funny. And you can see the discoloration in it. And you can see discoloration there at the edge. That has melted. That, for some reason, looks like this tensioner, it got hot internally at the center bolt. Well, no, I'll take it back. It's got to be from that. When the bearings start going out, and some of this is old melting, like that there. that's got age to it. So I would say one time previous, before I got this truck, this failed on somebody. This was replaced. I'm going to go from the rust in there. In fact, this came from New Jersey. I want to say that probably happened when my brother owned the truck. Now, this truck I got from my younger brother, who got it from his brother-in-law, his wife's brother, who had got it from somebody else. Anyways, it had been bought new in Connecticut, then it went to a used car lot, and then it ended up in New Jersey. So my brother and his brother-in-law took it to the same garage to have it worked on. Man, that has got a lot of failure right around that. I'm going to say it already had damage to the plastic from the previous bearing failure, because if you look in there at yellow discoloration, and you can see where it's piled up there. That'd probably be from the first failure, and then this fresh white is where it failed on me, and it started coming out. And as the bearing was failing, it overheated that, and you could not hear it over the engine. Even at idle, it sounded normal. I let this thing idle for a minute before I put it in gear. So yeah, this bearing here, it is locked into that center. Now, that's not a Ford pulley, and I'm not going to replace a bearing in a non-Ford pulley. The idler pulley I had, I took it someplace to have the bearing changed, and not an auto parts store. Now, I actually went and took it to started an alternator rebuilder I deal with, and it had a plastic that was key-weighed in on the bearing that retained the bearing in place. So he could not just press it out and swap bearings. And Ford, in January of '97, changed the design of the idler pulleys for these, and the air conditioner idlers, what some catalogs call it, or accessory drive idler. It's smooth, and it's about the same diameter as this pulley, but they're different. The original Ford one had, on the idler, had two stands that came up. This likely did too when it was made in '96. And their aftermarket replacements are smooth ones, and the Ford replacement ones are smooth like this. But a Ford replacement pulley will have numbers stamped in it. I even have some Ford idler pulleys, but I don't have any that fit this truck, unfortunately. You buy new old stock parts, you don't always get them. So, okay, here. We look at the housing here. If it weren't for that there, that housing could be reused. Except, they don't sell this part of the tensioner separately. They sell you a tensioner like this, or an assembly with a pulley. So, this here is plain aluminum scrap. This here, they'll take it as it is, irony aluminum. And this here is iron scrap. The bolt here, and the bolt has previous change tracks on it. I didn't do all those. Yeah, there's marks where somebody else has been on it with a loose socket before. People would say, oh, save that, save that. No, I don't want it. Although the one thing that did surprise me, because I got this part at an AutoZone, right there. I don't know if you can see it. Made in USA, and there's the AutoZone part number. We called the AutoZone that we went to on the way to AutoZone, and talked to a guy and told him I'd be in like 10 minutes or 15 minutes, however long it took us to get there. So they had that out at the counter. You know, instead of reserving it by name, he was like, asked me if I wanted to reserve it by name. I said, why? I'm going to be there in less than 15 minutes unless I hit heavy traffic. So he had this out at the counter waiting for us. And was Yeah, well, I come in and I didn't speak to that guy. I spoke to the other guy at the counter and told him what I needed. The guy that I'd spoke to on the phone reached under the counter, grabbed this box, handed it to the other guy. That impressed me. It really did. I was in and out of that parts store in less than 4 minutes. I mean, which I haven't had an experience at AutoZone like that in over 20 years. That almost made me want to go shop at AutoZone again. All right, well, that's enough rambling for now. Later, y'all.